Hello, we're back again. This is English 210, listening. So today we're doing some more listening. As you remember, last time we began Lecture 2 about nature. We heard a conversation about vacation plans. We practiced pronunciation of modal verb can, whether it's negative or positive. And today we move on to the second section of the unit. And always in the second section, we have a presentation of sorts. In Unit 1, you may remember that it was an address about an orientation. Today, we have a quite different type of presentation. It's a story about camping. So those of you who have the books, you can look in your book, although those who don't can look on the screen. We begin with Part 2, Camping. We have our pre-listening questions. You will hear a story about camping. Before you listen, answer these questions with a partner. Well, of necessity, I'm your partner. Have you ever gone camping? Many people in Saudi Arabia go camping into the desert. Camping is to go out into nature, going away from your house, maybe living in a tent, maybe living out in the open for a day or two or a weekend. And so that's what we're going to hear about. And we begin by previewing vocabulary. This is vocabulary you will have in this story. And of course, as you can expect, this is also vocabulary you will be tested on. So please recognize these words in future. Let's look at them. The view at the top of the mountain was incredible. The sunset was orange and purple. Please clean your muddy shoes before you come inside the house. When I'm sick of being in the city, I go hiking in the mountains. After the rain stopped, the sky was clear and sunny. 5, after 6 months in another country, I couldn't wait to see my family again. 6, don't be scared of the dog. She is very sweet and gentle. Now, those who prepared it, you can check your answers. These are the correct solutions. And, of course, incredible, we choose D, unbelievable or very surprising. 2, muddy, E, covered with earth. 3, hiking, B, walking out in nature. 4, we choose F, clear, speaking of a sky, means not cloudy. 5, couldn't wait, wanted to do something very much. I'm sure you can't wait to get started today. Number 6, scared, afraid. These are all terms that will be in your passage, the listening passage for today. And so, as always, the first thing we do is listen. Now you're going to hear this passage. To help you a bit with understanding it, we have our picture here. The picture here on page 31. I hope you see there the tent and with the bear. And I think that gives you an idea of maybe what is going to happen in our camping story. Now, just listen, and you notice at the top of the page they give you the directions. We're going to listen for 2 main things. What starts all of the trouble, and what happens to the couple's clothes. Now, this is called extensive listening, where you're listening for general facts, generally what's happening, not for specific details. So listen the first time, and to listen for those 2 facts. Now I'm going to read you the story about camping. We're all wet and muddy. What happened? You're not going to believe this. It's the most incredible thing. It all started when we decided to go hiking this morning. You see, the weather was sunny and clear when we got up, so we put on our shorts, and we put on our t-shirts, and we decided to go hiking. Half an hour later, it started raining cats and dogs. So off we hiked back to our tent as fast as we could. We couldn't wait to change into some dry clothes. But when we got to our tent and looked inside, we couldn't find our clothes. We went back outside to look around. And then we saw the craziest thing. 2 great big brown bears coming out of the woods. And guess what? They were wearing our clothes. Now, not wearing clothes like we do, What I mean is that one bear had a t-shirt around his neck, the other had pants over his head. We still don't know where the rest of our clothes are gone to. You know, it may sound funny, but we were really scared. Those bears were big, and now we have a big problem. We don't have any dry clothes to wear. Now, listening to that, you should have understood as the main point, what starts all of the trouble. You should have heard it was the rain, the heavy rain, the raining cats and dogs. What happened to the couple's clothes? You should have heard it was that bears took them from the tent. So that is general information. Now, one of the things we start doing in this course is taking notes. So let me put your page in front of you, especially for those who don't have the book. Listening for main ideas is what we just did, but now we go on to taking notes on specific information. Listen to the story again and fill in the missing key information in the notes below. In your book, you see that you've been given an outline of the story, and you're going to fill in the details. So we could say this is intensive work. So those of you who have the book, you have in front of you this grid here, this grid at the bottom here. So you're going to fill in what is missing. So let's do this and then check what we have done. So one more time, the story of camping. I'm all wet and muddy. How did this happen? You're not going to believe it. It's the most incredible thing. It all started when we decided to go hiking this morning. The weather was sunny and clear when we got up, so we put on our shorts and our t-shirts, and we went hiking. Half an hour later, it started raining cats and dogs. Well, we hiked back to our tent as fast as we could. We couldn't wait to change into dry clothes. But when we got to our tent and looked inside, we couldn't find our clothes. So we went back outside to look around. And then we saw the craziest thing. 2 great big brown bears coming out of the woods. And guess what? They were wearing our clothes. Now you may say that's impossible. Well, they weren't wearing clothes like we do. One bear had a t-shirt around his neck. The other one had some pants over his head. We still don't know where the rest of our clothes are. I know it sounds funny, but we were scared. Those bears were big, and now we have a big problem. We don't have any dry clothes to wear. Now, from listening, you should have been able to supply the missing details. They decided to go camping. Weather sunny, clear. After a half hour, started to rain cats and dogs. You could have said rain very hard. We hiked back to our tent to change clothes. Couldn't find dry clothes. Went back outside. Saw 2 bears wearing clothes. Felt scared. Problem now, no dry clothes. As you notice, we're starting to take notes. Notes are not sentences. They are words that help us to get the meaning back. And so it's sometimes enough to just have a noun, to have an adjective. We don't need structure words, and we don't need exact grammar. So that's something we're going to keep in mind when we are taking notes. So that was our story today about camping. Let's move on now to after you listen. The section after you listen. Summarizing ideas. You took notes. If you took notes, you can compare them with someone else's. You can't write here because we're doing this by e-learning. But we can review the vocabulary. We have the noun hiking. Remember, they went hiking. Clear, the sky was clear. Incredible. What was incredible? The fact that these bears had taken their clothes. Muddy, the ground was muddy because it had rained. They were scared when they saw the bears. I can't wait to, we heard they couldn't wait to get into dry clothes. And there in the picture we see someone hiking. Someone hiking, or actually two people hiking, and the one in the back is cleaning his shoes, meaning they are muddy. So those are some of the vocabulary we needed to work on here. Let's turn to the next page, page 12. Page 12, they present a sign. If you were in a national park, please take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints. Meaning, if you're going to go to a place like that, you must act in a conscientious way. What does the sign in the photo mean? It means don't bring any litter and don't take anything from the forest. Now, at the bottom of the page, we have a situation. You should understand, as they mention, we could use terms like you need to, you shouldn't. We see the park ranger here, the park ranger talking to the hikers, giving them advice. You shouldn't, it's against the rules, you're not allowed to. Some forms we could practice if we were in a group. All right, that ends our work on the lecture. We next move to contexts. To introduce the context, you have in your book some nice pictures. So let me use the book because it will be much clearer for those who don't have the book themselves. They'll see it in color. And these are very beautiful color pictures that we can use here to identify the seasons. You must be able to write and understand about the seasons. At the top on the left, we're going to identify that picture as spring because we see all of the flowers. To the side of it, we see this young lady, this young girl with the inner tube in the swimming pool, and we're going to identify that as summer. At the bottom of the page, we see on the left beautiful trees that have turned color, a sign of fall or autumn, and beside it, a girl playing in the snow, so that's winter. Now, your job in this course is not to be looking at pictures, but to be listening. And so we move right on to our context in this unit. You see here, you have 5 blanks. You're going to be hearing 5 different conversations. You must decide from the conversation if it is fall, winter, spring, or summer. At the side, they have clues. It's a good idea to write down clues if you can find them. Okay, let's listen and decide which of these seasons we're talking about and what clues caused us to choose. The first one, conversation 1. Now listen carefully, decide on the season. Nice weather we're having. Yes, isn't it a nice surprise? At this time, it's usually much cooler and raining already. Well, this weather will probably end soon. All the leaves on the trees are already brown, and even the nights are getting cold. Have you chosen a season? Well, you should have chosen fall. And here we see some of the clues. I wrote them down to make it clearer for you. We have fall, and we have cold, brown leaves, and rain. So that would make us choose that season. We go to conversation 2. Listen again, decide on the season, and decide what clues you think indicated. Conversation 2. Take your coat along, it's freezing outside. Nah, I'm only going to the corner store. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm telling you, it's in the low 30s out there. Do you want to get sick? Conversation 2, you should have decided, is winter. Winter, why? You heard freezing. Low 30s, this is low 30s Fahrenheit. In English-speaking countries, we use Fahrenheit. Freezing is 32, so low 30s is very cold. But freezing should have caused you to choose winter. Let's go on to conversation 3. Oh, I think you saw that, didn't you? Conversation 3. How do you like all this rain? Well, it's good for the trees and flowers. Yes, it's nice to see the leaves coming back on the trees again. Yeah, and I'm glad the snow is all gone. Which season? You should have chosen spring. Why? trees and flowers, leaves are coming back, and the snow is gone. Huh? All of these are clues that would lead you to choose spring. Let's go to conversation 4. A. Is it hot enough for you? B. Phew, it sure is. I don't mind the heat so much. It's the humidity that bothers me. Look, I'm all wet. A. Me too. Let's go get a cold drink somewhere. B. Yeah, someplace with air conditioning. Well, I think you can identify with that. That was summer. We heard it was hot, humidity, and air conditioning. Now we come to the last one, our last context. Conversation 5. A. Ah, this is the life. No traffic, no worries. Just lie here and enjoy doing nothing. B. Hey, your back is turning red. If you're not careful, you're going to get sunburned. A. Oh, could you put some sunscreen on my back? Well, that sounds, again, like summer. Doing nothing, vacation time, but most important, back has turned red, sunburned, and of course we heard also about the sunscreen. So those are tasks you should be able to do, listening to conversations, deciding on which season is being presented. Now we move on, as always, to our tasks. Every unit has tasks. Our tasks in this unit have to do with weather. The first task we have, you're listening for temperatures. Here, you see, you're listening for temperatures. You're going to hear some sentences, and you must choose the number. Be very careful of 90 and 19, 30 and 13. So this is a matter of listening to the differences between teens and tens. Listen, and then we'll check. Listening for temperatures. Listen to these conversations about the weather. Circle the temperatures that you hear. So you're going to hear temperatures. Circle the correct temperature. Conversation 1. What's the weather like today? Hot and humid. About 95 degrees. Conversation 2. I'm going to take a swim. Want to come? Is the pool heated? Sure, it's probably over 80 degrees. Conversation 3. How was your skiing holiday? Great. The weather was in the 30s and we had perfect snow conditions. Conversation 4. Let's go for a walk. What's it like out? About 40 degrees, but the wind has stopped. Thanks, but I think I'll stay inside where it's warm. Conversation 5. It's 103 in here. Why don't you turn on the air conditioning? It's broken. Conversation 6. How was the weather in Europe this summer? Just lovely. Hot, but never over 30 degrees. 30? Oh, you mean centigrade. Conversation 7. What's wrong? It's 13 below outside, and I can't find my gloves. Here, use mine. I have an extra pair. And finally, Conversation 8. Did you check the weather forecast? Yeah, it's supposed to be in the high 70s this weekend. The 70s? I guess we can forget about skiing. Okay, let's see if you chose the correct items. These were the correct solutions. In the first one you heard 95. That was about 95 degrees. Conversation 2, 80 degrees. Number 3, it was the 30s. Notice when we deal with a decade or 10 of something, we put an S at the end and say 30s. In Conversation 4, it was 40 degrees. In number 5, it's 103. Now that sounds impossible, of course, in centigrade, but in Fahrenheit, that would be maybe about 35 degrees centigrade. So we have that here. 6, your choice should have been 30 over 30 degrees. Conversation 7, 13 below. You see the minus below, minus 13. And finally, in conversation 8, the 70s. Again, a decade, 10 of them together. All right, that was a practice in listening, but distinguishing especially between teens and tens. 30, 13, 40, 14. So that's something you must be careful about. At the bottom of the page, we have an exercise about vocabulary. I hope you solved it. Those of you who had the book, you could have done this without listening, so we'll just look at the solutions. Take an umbrella. There's a chance of showers. Showers are short periods of rain. 2, take a sweater. It's chilly. Chilly, E, a little cold. Number 3, the overnight temperature will be 20 degrees, so overnight means during the night. Number 4, D, the sky is partly cloudy. It's not a good day for the beach. Partly cloudy. D, clear in some places, cloudy in others. Okay, partly means somewhat this, somewhat that. And finally, 5, the weather forecast says we can expect fair skies this weekend. Let's go fishing. And of course, A, fair, clear, not rainy. Now we're going to be using some of these in our second task today, which is listening to a forecast. Listening to a forecast. Those of you who have the book, you've seen this already, but for those who don't, let's have a look here. Here we have our weather presenter. That's going to be me in a few moments, telling you about the weather on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You see below here we have a chart, and from listening to the forecast, you must fill in. Notice the first order, the first row, sky, whether it's cloudy or fair. Temperature, the high temperature, the low temperature, and for rain, yes or no. So now get ready to fill that in, and you're going to hear a forecast. So fill in the forecast according to what you hear. Fill in the chart. Good evening. This is the National Weather Service report at 5 in the afternoon on Friday. Today's forecast for the evening in the Bear Mountain area is partly cloudy. We expect some showers through the night, but it should clear by early morning. Today's high was 61 degrees, and tonight's low is expected to be in the mid-50s. Tomorrow's highs will be in the 60s, with fair skies throughout the day. Temperatures will drop on Saturday night to a chilly low of 45 degrees. On Sunday, we'll continue with fair weather, warming up to a high temperature of 70 degrees. Sunday night low will get down below 50. Monday has a 50% chance of rain. All right, let's see if you were able to get that information down. This is what you should have found from listening. Friday, the time of the speaker's forecast, partly cloudy, high of 61, low mid-50s, rain at night, yes. And Saturday, fair skies, highs in the 60s, low of 45. There was no mention of rain, so we put no. Sunday, again, fair. If it's fair, we don't have rain. High of 70s, low below 50, no rain. But Monday, 50% chance of rain. So that was the weather forecast. Now, the last thing in this unit is just something we're going to discuss, and this is using language functions, expressing things you like and you dislike. I like to, I enjoy, it's okay, it's all right, it's wonderful, I'm crazy about. These are terms we had when talking about vacationing. You should be aware of them. Dislikes, I don't like, I dislike, I hate to, I'm not crazy about, I don't care for, it's awful, it's terrible, I can't stand it. Of course, at the bottom, if we were a class, we'd be filling in various of our dislikes and likes, but of course you'll have to do that on your own. Well, I hope you enjoyed finishing up Unit 2 about nature, about weather, about camping. And in our next lesson, we continue with a new unit, something we all like to do. It's about eating. Thank you.